When did your landlord's smart home upgrade almost kill someone? I was processing Medicare claims when my desk phone rang. Grandma's number. I almost didn't answer because she usually called my cell, but something made me pick up. Callie, the door won't work. Her voice was thin, breathless. It's so hot, I can't get out. I sat up straight. What do you mean the door won't work? The handle just spins. Nothing happens. I've been trying for 20 minutes. Did you hear the click when you pressed the code? I pulled up the smart lock app on my phone. It showed locked, but wouldn't respond to my unlock command. I tried everything. My chest hurts. She paused, and I heard her wheezing. I need my heart pills, but they're in the kitchen. Grandma, where are you right now? By the door. I can't make it to the kitchen. It's too hot. The smart lock was beeping error codes in the background. Then it hit me. The AC wasn't running. I could hear the silence where the hum should be. Phoenix was hitting 115 degrees today. Grandma, I'm calling 911 and coming home right now. Sit on the floor by the door. Don't move. I was already grabbing my keys when my supervisor started yelling about the Medicare deadline. I didn't even look back. I called 911 while running to my car. My grandmother is trapped inside our apartment. The electronic lock failed and it's 115 degrees outside. The dispatcher sounded bored. Is this a medical emergency or do you need a locksmith? She has congestive heart failure. The AC is off. She can't get to her medication. Send someone now. We'll dispatch emergency services to your location. I tried calling our landlord Ethan while speeding down Indian School Road, straight to voicemail. I texted him. Emergency. Grandmother trapped. Smart lock malfunction. His reply came instantly. On vacation. Call maintenance line. The maintenance line was an automated message about business hours. I texted again. She could die. Please help. Nothing. When I pulled up to our building, the ambulance was already there. EMTs were using a Halligan bar on our door while neighbors gathered in the hallway. Mrs. Chen from next door grabbed my arm. I heard her calling for help an hour ago. I tried to help, but that fancy lock wouldn't budge. The door finally gave way with a crack. Grandma was on the floor, her face flushed deep red, barely conscious. One EMT dropped to his knees beside her while his partner ran for equipment. Core temp 103.2, he called out. We need to move now. Is she going to be okay? My voice cracked. Severe dehydration, possible heat stroke, irregular heartbeat. They were already getting her on the stretcher. She's lucky you called when you did. As they loaded her into the ambulance, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The AC unit outside our apartment was running. I could see the fan spinning, hear the compressor humming. But inside, the apartment felt like an oven. The thermostat read 98 degrees. I checked the smart lock panel by the door. The screen showed remote access active. In the ambulance, Grandma's eyes fluttered open briefly. The EMT was starting an IV while his partner drove. This is the third heat emergency from your building this month, the EMT said, not looking up from Grandma's arm. What do you mean third? Elderly man in 4B last week. Almost died. Young mom with a baby in 2A before that. Same thing every time. Locked in, no AC, during peak heat. My grandmother's eyes opened again. She was trying to say something. Don't talk, Grandma. Save your energy. She shook her head weakly. He came yesterday. Who came? Ethan's cousin, the one who installed the locks. Her voice was barely a whisper. Said he was checking them, making sure they worked right. The EMT and I locked eyes. He pulled out his phone and started typing something. What are you doing? Documenting this, pattern of calls, same building, same circumstances. He showed me his notes app. 4 addresses, all Ethan's properties, 17 heat-related emergencies in 3 months. This isn't an accident. I looked at my grandmother, IVs in both arms, oxygen mask over her face, heart monitor beeping irregularly. Her eyes were closed again, but tears were sliding down her cheeks. This wasn't a malfunction. This wasn't bad luck. My landlord was trying to kill us to get us out. 2 days later, Grandma was still in the ICU when I finally reached Ethan. Technical glitch, he said before I could even speak. These smart lock systems have bugs. It's in the lease that I'm not responsible for technology failures. She almost died. Her core temperature was 103.2 degrees Fahrenheit. That's unfortunate, but it's not my responsibility. His voice was flat, bored even. You should read your lease agreement. Section 14 explicitly states, you remotely locked her in during a heat wave. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? I could hear him smirking through the phone. Because I have proof I was in Sedona when this happened. The EMT said this is the third heat emergency from our building this month. Coincidences happen. Old people and heat don't mix. Maybe you should consider if this living situation is appropriate for your grandmother. My hand was shaking. I'm calling the housing authority. He laughed. Actually laughed. Good luck with that. I've got the best lawyers in Phoenix. Meanwhile, you might want to check your door when you get home. I had my cousin fix the lock issue. The line went dead. Dr. Martinez pulled me aside after rounds. Your grandmother is lucky. Another hour and we'd be having a very different conversation. The heat stroke could have triggered cardiac arrest. When can she come home? Few more days, but I need to ask, is your home environment safe? This level of heat exposure at her age with her heart condition? It was a lock malfunction. We're handling it. She gave me a look that said she'd heard this before. Make sure you do. Next time she might not be so fortunate. My supervisor called while I was in the hospital cafeteria. You've missed 2 days without proper documentation. 1 more absence, and it's a written warning. My grandmother nearly died. Family emergencies require advance notice when possible. The Medicare audit doesn't care about personal problems. 3 days later, I sat across from Derek at the housing authority. His office was a converted storage closet that smelled like mold and defeat. Stacks of files covered every surface. A sign on his desk read, current wait time for non-emergency inspections, 16 weeks. Smart lock malfunctions aren't housing violations, he said, not looking up from my complaint form. I slid the EMT report across his desk. 3 medical emergencies in one building, same circumstances. He glanced at it. Unless you can prove intentional tampering, this is a civil matter. The app showed remote access while my grandmother was trapped. Screenshots? No, I was trying to save her life. Then it's your word against his. He rubbed his eyes. Look, that requires a subpoena. You'd need a lawyer. Even then, those logs can be deleted, modified, claimed as routine maintenance access. So he can just cook elderly people in their homes and nothing happens? Derek looked around like he was checking for cameras, then leaned forward. Your landlord owns 14 properties through various LLCs. We've had complaints. What kind of complaints? The kind that get withdrawn suddenly after tenants move out in the middle of the night. He opened his drawer and pulled out a business card. Legal aid. Ask for Marissa. Tell her Derek sent you. She specializes in predatory landlord cases. Has she won any? Some. But your landlord has Thompson and Associates on retainer. I recognize the name. They had billboards all over Phoenix. So I'm screwed. I didn't say that. He lowered his voice even more. Document everything. Every text, every interaction, every temperature reading. Get timestamps. Get witnesses. These guys always push too hard eventually. Eventually? How many people have to suffer before? Ma'am, I have 43 cases this week. 7 investigators for all of Maricopa County. Unless someone dies or the building collapses, we're playing catch-up. He stood up, our 5 minutes clearly over. Call Marissa, and maybe install a thermometer that uploads to the cloud. Paper trail beats testimony every time. Outside in the parking lot, the August heat hit like a physical wall. My car thermometer read 117 degrees. I sat there with the AC blasting, staring at Marissa's card. My phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Heard you visited Housing Authority today. Maintenance needs to inspect your unit tomorrow for possible damage from the door incident. 8 a.m. sharp, per lease section 7. 3. Failure to provide access results in immediate eviction proceedings. Another text. Hope your grandmother is recovering well. These heat waves are so dangerous for the elderly. I drove back to the hospital where Grandma was finally awake, looking fragile and somehow smaller against the white sheets. The apartment's not safe, is it? She asked. I'm handling it, Grandma. She squeezed my hand weakly. Maybe we should just move. Find somewhere with normal locks. With what money? First, last, and deposit anywhere decent is $8,000 minimum. And if he evicts us, good luck getting approved anywhere. The next morning, I was back at our apartment with 5 days' worth of Grandma's medications. A yellow notice was taped to our door. Notice to quit, 30-day. My hands shook as I read it. Lease violation, property damage from forced entry, unauthorized persons in unit during emergency, creating disturbances affecting peaceful enjoyment of other residents, 30 days to vacate or face formal eviction proceedings. I ripped it off the door and went inside. The AC was working perfectly now. Of course it was. The apartment was a comfortable 72 degrees. Ethan must have turned it back on remotely the second the EMTS left. Grandma's pills were scattered across the floor where she'd collapsed. Her reading glasses lay broken by the door. A dark stain on the carpet marked where she'd lost bladder control in the heat. I got on my knees and started picking up the pills one by one. Metoprolol, furosemide, warfarin, each one keeping her heart functioning. My phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Received your housing authority complaint. See you in court. Meanwhile, suggest you start packing. I checked the smart lock app. Every single remote access log from the past week had been deleted. The history showed nothing between last Tuesday and today, like the attempted murder of my grandmother never happened. I took screenshots of the empty logs anyway. At exactly 7 a.m. the next morning, someone pounded on the door. I opened it to find Ethan with a clipboard and his phone out recording. Routine inspection, as outlined in lease section 7.3. You need to give 24 hours notice for... This is documenting damage from the emergency entry, unless you're refusing me access. He held up his phone higher. Please state clearly if you're denying your landlord lawful entry to inspect property damage. I stepped aside. He walked through the apartment taking photos of everything. The repaired door frame, the stain on the carpet, every piece of furniture. He stopped at Grandma's bed and photographed the safety rail. Is that a bed rail? That's an unauthorized modification. She needs it for her heart condition. She could fall. Should have requested written permission. That's a lease violation. He made a note on his clipboard. Drilling into walls without authorization. He walked into the kitchen and photographed our shower chair visible through the bathroom door. Another unauthorized modification. That's a safety liability. In the living room, he pointed at the curtains. These aren't the approved colors specified in the lease addendum. Beige or white only. They were here when we moved in. No documentation of that. Another violation. He photographed our welcome mat. Fire hazard. Blocks emergency egress. It's a welcome mat. Everyone has... Not everyone. You do. That's what matters. He opened the closet where we kept Grandma's oxygen tank for emergencies. Hazardous materials stored without permission. That's medical equipment. She needs it to breathe. Still requires written authorization and proof of insurance liability. More notes on his clipboard. I'll need to inspect daily this week to document all issues for court. Daily? Would you prefer I start eviction proceedings immediately based on current violations? That afternoon, I was filling pots with water from the bathtub because the kitchen sink had slowed to barely a trickle. I called the maintenance line. Current wait time for non-emergency repairs is 5 to 7 business days, the recording said. I hung up and tried running the bathroom sink. Same thing, barely enough pressure to brush your teeth. The toilet tank took 20 minutes to refill after flushing. Another text from Ethan. Plumbing issue reported. Maintenance will address an order received. Meanwhile, please minimize water usage to prevent pipe damage. At the hospital that evening, I showed Grandma the eviction notice. Her heart monitor picked up speed. Maybe we should just go, she said. Find somewhere else. With an eviction on our record, no one will rent to us. And we can't afford movers, first month, last month, security deposit. I have some savings. $3,000 won't cover it, Grandma. Anything comparable is going for $3,500 a month now. That's $10,000 just to move in. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. I almost didn't open it. You're not the only one. Meeting tonight, 9 p.m. at Desert Sage Community Center. Come alone. Don't tell anyone. We know what he's doing. I looked at Grandma, pale and fragile in her hospital bed, hooked to machines because our landlord tried to kill her. What is it? She asked. Maybe nothing. Maybe something. That night, I drove to Desert Sage Community Center, checking my mirrors every few seconds. The parking lot was empty except for 3 cars parked far apart. Inside, the fluorescent lights were off. Only the emergency exits glowed. I followed the sound of voices to a back room where 3 people sat in folding chairs arranged in a tight circle. You came. A black man in his 40s stood up. I'm Marcus, 4B. This is Sarah and Jennifer. Sarah looked about my age, bouncing a baby carrier with her foot. Jennifer was older, maybe 50, wearing scrubs like she'd come straight from work. Your grandmother, Marcus said. Is she okay? She's alive. Barely. My dad wasn't so lucky. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. 78 years old. COPD. They found him unconscious after 6 hours locked in. He's still on a ventilator. When was this? Last week, same exact thing. Smart lock malfunction during the hottest part of the day. A C mysteriously stops working. Can't get out. Sarah shifted her baby to her other arm. Mine was 2 weeks ago. I went to check the mail. 30 seconds, maybe 40. When I came back, the lock wouldn't recognize my code. My baby was inside screaming. 2 hours in 98-degree heat before maintenance finally showed up. Let me guess, I said. Ethan claimed it was a technical glitch. Technical glitch that happened right after I complained about the broken window in my bedroom, Sarah said. The one that's been broken for 3 months. Jennifer leaned forward. Mine wasn't heat. Mine was financial. I asked for a copy of my lease to check something. Next day, my rent payment app stops working. Then I get an eviction notice for non-payment, even though I have screenshots showing I tried to pay. All of us have the same smart locks, Marcus said. All installed by the same person. Tony, we said in unison. Ethan's cousin, I said. He came by the day before my grandmother got trapped, said he was doing routine maintenance. Marcus pulled out his phone. I've been documenting everything, taking temperature readings every hour. Look at this. He showed us a graph. My apartment hits exactly 98 degrees every time I'm gone more than 4 hours. Never when I'm home, never at night, only when I'm at work. That's not random, Jennifer said. No, it's not. Marcus's friend had given him a crash course in smart home technology. These locks store everything in the cloud. Every access, every remote login, every temperature change. Even if Ethan deletes the local logs, the manufacturer has backups. Can we get those? Not without a subpoena, but there's something else. He pulled out a folder. I've been researching Ethan's properties. 14 buildings in 3 years, all in neighborhoods that are gentrifying. Sarah was rocking her baby faster now. How many tenants has he forced out? Based on public eviction records and moving patterns, hundreds, maybe more. My neighbor in 2C moved out last month, Jennifer said. Middle of the night, didn't tell anyone, just gone. Mine too, Sarah said. The elderly couple in 2B, they'd lived there 15 years. One day they're just gone. Management said they broke their lease. I thought about all the empty apartments in our building. He's clearing out long-term tenants. People paying below market rate. Exactly. Marcus spread out printed screenshots on the floor. Look at these rental listings. Same units that were $2,200 are now going for $3,500. That's a $1,300 difference per unit, Jennifer said. Times how many apartments? In our building alone? 20 units. That's $26,000 extra per month if he gets us all out. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Anyone else getting weird texts? They all nodded. Daily inspections, Sarah said. He comes when the baby's napping. Takes photos of everything. Says the toys are fire hazards. Mine's the oxygen tanks, Marcus said. Apparently my dad's medical equipment is a lease violation. He's building cases against all of us, I said. Paper trails for court. Jennifer stood up. So what do we do? Marcus pulled out a small device. We document everything. This is a smart temperature sensor. Uploads to the cloud every minute. Timestamps, location data, everything. $30 online. I'm also recording the inspections, I said. Hidden phone. Good. We need evidence he can't delete. Marcus handed us each a sensor. Install these tonight. Hide them well. What about the locks? Sarah asked. What if he does it again? Keep your phones charged. Call 911 immediately. Don't wait. We exchanged numbers, real ones this time. As we walked to our cars, Sarah grabbed my arm. Is this going to work? I thought about Grandma in that hospital bed. It has to. The next morning, Ethan was back for another inspection. I'd hidden my phone in Grandma's medical supply box, propped between gauze rolls with the camera lens barely visible. Recording everything. He walked through the apartment slower this time, taking more photos, opening cabinets, checking under sinks. When he got to the living room, he turned to me. You know, cash for keys is still on the table. What? $3,000. Cash. You leave by Friday. No eviction on your record. Clean break. The apartment's worth twice that in relocation costs alone. He shrugged. That's my only offer. Tomorrow it drops to $2,000. Yup. My grandmother just got out of the hospital. She can't handle a move right now. Not my problem. He photographed a tiny crack in the wall I'd never noticed before. Structural damage. Another violation. After he left, I checked the recording. Crystal clear. His face, his voice, his bribe attempt. All of it. Marcus texted our group that afternoon. His temperature sensors were showing patterns. Every day between noon and 4 when he was at work, his apartment hit 98 degrees, down to 75 by the time he got home. Sarah had been documenting too. 17 maintenance requests submitted through the app, all marked received but never addressed. Her broken window, the leak under her sink, the outlet that sparked when she plugged anything in. But Jennifer found the smoking gun. She worked at the county clerk's office and had access to public records. Tony, Ethan's cousin who installed all our smart locks, wasn't a licensed contractor. Never had been. His business license had expired 3 years ago and was never renewed. Every installation he did is illegal, she texted us. Every single one. There was more. The smart locks weren't properly integrated with the building's fire safety system. If the power failed, if there was a fire, if the system glitched, we'd be trapped. No manual override, no emergency release. The fire marshal would shut down the entire building if they knew. Marcus's IT friend had been digging too. The locks have a vacation mode, Marcus explained in our group text. Landlords can remotely lock out tenants for property protection when units are supposedly vacant. I thought about the day Grandma got trapped. The lock showing remote access active. Ethan had literally put our apartment in vacation mode while my grandmother was dying inside. That evening, I was at the hospital with Grandma when my phone rang. My boss. We need to discuss your attendance. I'm at the hospital with my grandmother. She's still recovering from heat stroke. You've missed 4 days and 2 weeks. She almost died. The Medicare audit doesn't care about personal problems. If you miss another day, it's a written warning. 2 more after that and you're terminated. I wanted to scream. Wanted to tell her that my landlord was trying to kill my grandmother. That I was documenting crimes. That I couldn't lose this job because it was the only thing keeping us from homelessness. Instead, I said, I understand. Grandma was awake when I got back to her room. You look tired, sweetheart. Just work stuff. Callista. She grabbed my hand. I've been thinking. Maybe we should take his offer. $3,000 won't get us anywhere, Grandma. But staying might kill me. Her voice was small. I can't go through that again. When that door wouldn't open, when the heat kept climbing, I thought I was going to die alone in that apartment. You're not going to die. I won't let him. You can't watch me 24 hours a day. You have to work. And he knows that. Tears were sliding down her cheeks. What if next time you don't get there in time? I squeezed her hand. We have evidence now. We're building a case. How long will that take? Months? Years? I don't have years, Callista. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ethan. Daily inspection tomorrow 7 a.m. Please ensure unit is accessible. Then another. BTW, water will be off tomorrow 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. for emergency plumbing repairs. Plan accordingly. Then another. Also reviewing your lease history. Interesting patterns in your payment records. We should discuss. He was escalating, getting bolder. He knew we were trapped and he was tightening the screws. Marcus texted the group. My dad's oxygen supplier just called. Their delivery was canceled. No explanation. Sarah was next. Just got an eviction warning for excessive noise. My baby crying apparently violates quiet hours. Jennifer. My hours at work just got cut. My supervisor got an anonymous complaint about my performance. We were all under siege. And Ethan was just getting started. We thought we were being careful meeting in the laundry room at 11 at night. Tony walked in just as Marcus was showing us his latest temperature readings. We all froze. He looked at each of us, then at the papers spread on the folding table. What's this? A tenant union? His voice was casual, but his eyes were cold. Just doing laundry, I said, grabbing the papers. At 11 p.m., all 4 of you? He pulled out his phone and started recording. Interesting group you got here. The complainer from 1C, the noise problem from 2A, the payment dodger from 3C, and the troublemaker from 4B. Sarah picked up her empty basket. We're allowed to use the laundry room. Sure you are. He kept filming. Just like you're allowed to organize. With proper written approval from management, of course. We scattered, but the damage was done. He'd seen us together. He had video. The retaliation started at 6 a.m. My door was being pounded on, not knocked, pounded. I opened it to find a process server. Callista Martinez, you're being served with a noise complaint. 3 violations in 1 week. What? When? Tuesday at 2 p.m., Wednesday at 11 p.m., Thursday at 3 a.m. I was at work Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday I was at the hospital. Thursday at 3 a.m. I was asleep. He shrugged and handed me the papers. Tell it to the judge. My phone started blowing up. Sarah. They just towed my car. Said it was parked illegally. Same spot I've used for 2 years. Marcus. Dad's oxygen delivery got canceled permanently. They said there was a safety concern about our address. Jennifer. Just got written up at work. Anonymous complaint about me using work computers for personal legal research. I ran down to the parking lot. My car was still there, but both rear tires had been slashed. Not just punctured, slashed open in long, deliberate cuts. Sarah's baby stroller was in the dumpster, cut into pieces. Marcus found his dad's wheelchair had been moved from the hallway storage to the basement, 1 wheel removed. The building management company email came at noon, sent to all residents. It has come to our attention that unauthorized tenant meetings have been occurring on property. Per lease section 12.4, any organized tenant activity requires prior written approval from management. Failure to comply may result in immediate eviction proceedings. Additionally, any harassment or conspiracy against property ownership will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That evening, Grandma was being discharged. I had to borrow Mrs. Chen's car to pick her up because mine was still on slashed tires I couldn't afford to replace. You look terrible, Grandma said as I helped her into the car. Just tired. Callista, what's really happening? I wanted to protect her, wanted to lie, but she deserved the truth. We're fighting back, other tenants and me. But he knows now. Is that why your tires are flat? You saw that? I see everything from my window. She grabbed my hand. We should just leave, take whatever he offers and go. That's what he wants, Grandma. Maybe what he wants and what we need are the same thing. You raised me to fight. I raised you to survive. Her hand was shaking in mine. Sometimes surviving means knowing when to retreat. My phone buzzed. Text from Tony, not Ethan. Nice meeting tonight. By the way, you might want to check your smart lock settings. Looks like there's a system update scheduled for tomorrow. Sometimes those updates cause glitches. I showed it to Grandma. That's a threat, she whispered. Yeah, it is. What do we do? I thought about Marcus's dad on a ventilator, Sarah's baby in that heat, Jennifer losing her job. We don't run. We get ready. The next day, Marcus's IT friend came through with something huge. I managed to pull partial data from the smart lock cloud backups Marcus texted our group. Every single malfunction shows the same pattern. Remote access initiated right before each incident. He sent screenshots line after line of access logs. July 15th, 12:47 p.m., remote override initiated. July 22nd, 2:15 p.m., vacation mode activated. August 3rd, 1:33 p.m., emergency lock engaged. Every timestamp matched when one of us got trapped. Look at the IP addresses, Marcus wrote. They're all the same. I cross-referenced it with a basic IP lookup. The address traced back to a residential internet account in Paradise Valley, Ethan's neighborhood. This proves he did it, Sarah texted. Not in court, Jennifer replied. We'd need a subpoena to officially connect that IP to him. Any lawyer could claim it was spoofed or that someone else used his Wi-Fi. But Jennifer had been busy with her own research. Working at the county clerk's office had its advantages. I pulled every property record for Ethan's LLCS, she texted, along with a spreadsheet. 14 buildings in 3 years. All in South Phoenix, Central Phoenix, and Tempe. All in neighborhoods where property values are shooting up. The pattern was obvious. He'd buy a building with long-term tenants paying below market rate. Within 6 months, mass exodus. Then renovations and new tenants at double the rent. Look at this, Jennifer added. She'd found a Facebook group for one of his previous buildings, post after post from former tenants. Suddenly, my door wouldn't open in 110-degree heat. AC mysteriously broke every time I complained about anything. Got locked out 3 times in 1 week until I gave up and moved. One comment stopped me cold, from 8 months ago. My mom died from heat exhaustion after being trapped for 4 hours. Landlord claimed it was a malfunction. We couldn't prove otherwise. I screenshot everything and texted it to the group. We're not the first, I wrote. We're just the first to fight back together. A former tenant named Miguel had sent me a private message after seeing my post in the Facebook group. He did the same thing to us at Desert Palm Apartments. We tried to fight. I had recordings, temperature logs, everything, but people got scared. One by one, they took his cash and left. Don't let him isolate you. That's how he wins. How much did he offer you? I asked. Started at $2,000. By the time I was the last one fighting, he offered 10. I had 3 kids and no options. I took it. Do you regret it? Every day, but my kids needed a roof. Sometimes that's all that matters. I was typing a response when Sarah's text came through, all caps. Emergency, my lock just activated. Lily's inside alone. I raced towards Sarah's apartment when I saw the text. Marcus, Jennifer, and I reached the 2nd floor at the same time. Sarah was yanking on her door handle so hard her hands were bleeding. Her 2-year-old Lily was screaming behind the locked door. I just went to get the mail, Sarah sobbed. 30 seconds. The door was open. Now the code won't work. Marcus was already on the phone with 911. Baby locked inside apartment at Desert Vista Complex. Smart lock malfunction. Mother locked out. Is the child in immediate danger? The dispatcher asked through speaker. She's 2 years old and it's 95 degrees, Marcus said. The AC could cut any second. Jennifer ran to find the security guard while I pressed my ear against the door. Lily's crying was getting weaker. Baby, mommy's right here, Sarah called through the door. Sit by the door, sweetie. Don't move. The security guard arrived, looking annoyed. What's all the noise about? My baby's locked inside. Please, you have to help. He shrugged. Breaking doors isn't my job. Call maintenance. She could die in there. Not my problem. That's property damage. I could lose my job. Sarah grabbed his shirt. Break the fucking door. He pushed her off. Touch me again and I'll call the cops on you, not for you. The crying inside had stopped. Sarah went white. Lily? Lily, answer mommy. Nothing. Oh God, what if she passed out? What if the heat? Marcus was pounding on other doors. Anyone have tools? Hammer? Crowbar? Most neighbors didn't answer. The ones who did looked scared. We can't get involved. Ethan will evict us. 15 minutes passed before we heard sirens, the same EMT crew from my grandmother's emergency. Jake recognized me immediately. Jesus, not again. He grabbed the Halligan bar. This is the 4th one from this building. And his partner started working on the door. Same landlord? Same everything. Jake looked at me. You documenting this? Recording everything. The door cracked open. Lily was on the floor by the couch, flushed red but conscious, crying but sluggish. Sarah scooped her up while Jake checked her vitals. Mild dehydration, elevated temperature, but not critical. He gave Lily water while checking her pupils. She's lucky. 10 more minutes in this heat. Sarah was crying into Lily's hair. I'm never leaving you again. Never. Jake pulled me aside while his partner treated Lily. This isn't coincidence. 4 heat emergencies, same building, same smart locks, all after tenants complained about something. We know. We're trying to prove it. I've been keeping my own records. He showed me his phone. Photos of every call, timestamps, patient conditions. 17 heat emergencies across his properties in 3 months. 2 deaths that couldn't be definitively linked. His deaths? Elderly woman in May. Man with diabetes in June. Both found after being locked in for hours, ruled as natural causes complicated by heat. He wrote his personal number on my hand. Document everything, every text, every temperature reading, every incident. Call me if you need my reports for court. You'd testify? Someone has to stop this before more people die. That night, Sarah texted our group. Ethan just messaged me. She sent the screenshot. Shame about today's incident. Seems unsafe for a child. Perhaps you should consider a more suitable living environment. Then another. I could help with moving expenses. $5,000 if you're gone by Friday. Sarah's next text broke my heart. I have to take it. I can't risk Lily again. Marcus wrote back immediately. Don't let him win. It's not about winning anymore. It's about my daughter surviving. Jennifer tried to convince her. We're so close to having enough evidence. Evidence won't bring her back if she dies next time. I understood. As much as I wanted us all to fight together, I couldn't ask Sarah to risk her baby's life. Whatever you decide, we support you, I texted. I'm sorry, she wrote. I'm moving to my mom's in Tucson. I'm done. Sarah's departure left us fractured, but Ethan wasn't done with those who remained. My boss called me into her office Monday morning. The Medicare audit spreadsheets were still on her screen, but she pushed them aside. We received a formal complaint about your attendance. From who? Anonymous, but it included specific dates and times you've been absent. My grandmother nearly died. I have the hospital documentation. The complaint also alleges you've been organizing against your landlord during work hours, using company computers for personal legal research. That's not true. She pulled out a printed email. IT found searches for tenant rights and eviction law on your workstation. During my lunch break, on my phone. The timestamps say 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was on break. You didn't clock out. She slid a written warning across the desk. I have to document this. One more incident and it's termination. The board doesn't care about personal problems when we're failing Medicare audits. I signed it, my hand shaking with rage. Ethan had reached into my workplace. He was attacking every part of my life. When I got home that evening, I turned the kitchen faucet. Nothing, not even a drip. I tried the bathroom. Same thing. The toilet wouldn't refill after flushing. I called the maintenance line. Water will be restored once emergency plumbing repairs are completed. Estimated time, 5 to 7 business days. I texted Ethan. We have no water. Aging pipes need replacement. Not safe to run water until fixed. Maybe consider temporary relocation. Mrs. Chen let me fill buckets from her sink, but she was nervous. If he sees me helping you. I know, thank you. It took 6 trips to get enough water for basic needs. Grandmother watched from her chair, looking smaller each day. How long can we do this, she asked. As long as we have to. But her health was deteriorating. The stress was breaking her body down. Her heart palpitations were increasing. Her blood pressure spiking randomly. She'd started having night terrors about being trapped again. Thursday, she had a cardiac episode while I was at work. Mrs. Chen called an ambulance. By the time I got to the hospital, she was stable, but the cardiologist was grim. Her heart can't take much more stress. These episodes will escalate if she doesn't have stability. Define stability. Consistent environment, no major stressors, regular sleep, proper hydration. He looked at her chart. She's been admitted 3 times in 2 weeks. What's happening at home? I couldn't even begin to explain. Whatever it is, he said, it needs to stop. Next episode could be fatal. That night, Marcus texted the group. We're done. Dad's doctor says one more incident could kill him. Found a place in Glendale. Moving this weekend. I'm sorry, I wrote. We tried. But I can't lose my dad over an apartment. Jennifer was next. Got terminated today. They said performance issues, but I know Ethan's behind it. Moving in with my sister in Flagstaff. When? Tomorrow. Can't afford even 1 month without income. And just like that, I was alone. The only one still fighting. The only one Ethan hadn't broken yet. He texted me that night. Seems your friends have made smart choices. My offer stands. 5,000 cash. Gone by Monday. No. 4,000. Final offer. I said no. Your grandmother doesn't look well. Hate for something to happen while you're at work. I screenshot the threat and added it to my evidence file. But who would I show it to? My allies were gone. Legal aid said without multiple witnesses, my case was weak. I sat in our dark apartment, no water, grandmother sleeping fitfully, completely alone. Ethan had systematically destroyed our resistance, picked us off one by one, used our weaknesses against us. Sarah's baby, Marcus's father's oxygen, Jennifer's job, my grandmother's heart. He knew exactly where to apply pressure until we broke. My phone buzzed. Jake, the EMT. Heard about your neighbors moving. You still fighting? Trying to. Got something that might help. Can't text it. Can you meet tomorrow? Where? Phoenix General, ask for me at the ER desk. I found something in the city's emergency response database you need to see. A tiny spark of hope in the darkness. Maybe I wasn't completely alone yet. The next morning, I met Jake at Phoenix General during his break. Your landlord's offer went up, he said, pulling out his phone. 5,000 to leave immediately. How do you know that? He texted me after Sarah left. Wanted to know if I'd testify that the incidents were accidents. Offered me $2,000. What did you say? Nothing. But I've been documenting everything. He showed me his screen. Every call to his properties. 17 heat emergencies, 2 deaths. You mentioned the deaths before. Yeah, but I found something else. Both victims had complained to the city about housing violations the week before they died. My stomach dropped. He killed them. Can't prove it, but the pattern's there. That afternoon, Ethan texted again. 5,000 cash, tomorrow. Final offer. No. Your grandmother could die from another move. That's not your problem, right? That's what you told me. I'm trying to help you avoid a tragedy. I screenshot everything. But who would care? The police said it was civil. Housing authority said they needed proof. Legal aid said I needed witnesses, and they'd all fled. The next day, our power cut out. I came home from work to find the apartment at 90 degrees and climbing. The smart lock worked fine, but inside was an oven. Grandmother was slumped in her chair, barely conscious. Electrical maintenance, the notice on our door said. Power restoration estimate, 5 to 7 business days. It was 118 degrees outside, the hottest day Phoenix had recorded in 5 years. I got grandmother into Mrs. Chen's car and drove straight to the hospital. Her core temperature was 101 degrees. Not critical yet, but climbing toward danger. We can't keep doing this, the ER doctor said. She's been here 4 times this month. I know. This is elder abuse. I know, but I can't prove he's doing it intentionally. The hospital social worker pulled me aside. If this continues, we'll have to report it to Adult Protective Services. Report what? That our landlord claims electrical problems during a heat wave? That your grandmother is repeatedly endangered in her living situation? So you'll blame us instead of him? She looked sympathetic but firm. The law doesn't care about blame. It cares about safety. We couldn't afford a hotel. Grandmother and I slept in the hospital waiting room on plastic chairs. Security kept trying to move us, but Jake intervened each time, saying we were waiting for test results. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Email from work. 3rd absence this month. Per company policy, this serves as your final warning. 1 more absence will result in immediate termination. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Ethan had orchestrated everything perfectly. Attack my job so I couldn't afford lawyers. Attack my home so grandmother's health deteriorated. Attack my support system until I stood alone. Jake found us at dawn, just starting his shift. I've been thinking, he said, handing me coffee. My reports are public record. So? Every emergency call, response time, patient condition, it's all documented. 4 heat emergencies from 1 building isn't normal. 17 from his properties total is criminal. But without proof he's doing it intentionally, the pattern is the proof. Same buildings, same types of tenants, all after complaints or rent disputes. He pulled out a folder. I printed everything, every call, every report. Took me all night, but it's here. Why are you helping me? Because I became an EMT to save lives, and this guy is trying to take them. He looked at grandmother sleeping in her wheelchair. I've seen what heat does to the elderly. It's not quick, it's not painless. It's torture. The city council has an emergency meeting tomorrow, he continued, about the housing crisis. You should go. They won't listen to one person. Maybe not. But what if it's not just you? What if the news is there? What if this goes viral? I thought about it. One last shot before Ethan won completely. How do I make that happen? I know a reporter, Amanda Chen. She's been covering the housing crisis. This is exactly the kind of story she's looking for. He wrote down her number. Call her. Tell her everything. Show her the evidence. Looking at grandmother's frail form in the hospital wheelchair, I knew we were out of time. Either I fought back now with everything, or we'd lose everything anyway. I called Amanda Chen that afternoon from the hospital parking lot. Jake gave me your number. My landlord is trying to kill elderly tenants with smart locks and heat. That's a serious accusation. I have evidence. EMT reports, temperature logs, text messages where he threatens us. Can you meet tonight? Yes. We met at a Denny's off I-17. I showed her everything on my phone, the screenshots, the temperature readings Marcus had sent me, Jake's folder of emergency calls. She took notes for an hour. This is huge. City council meeting is tomorrow. Can you testify? I'll lose my job if I miss work again. This story needs to break. Your grandmother nearly died. She still might. Amanda looked at the evidence again. I'm calling my mom. Your mom? Rebecca Chen, city council member investigating illegal evictions. My stomach dropped. I emailed her yesterday. I know. She forwarded it to me. We've been building a case against predatory landlords for months. You're the smoking gun. That's when I realized Ethan had been monitoring my email somehow. I checked my phone. My entire Google Drive was empty. All my evidence folders, gone. The phone started factory resetting while I watched. No. I tried to stop it, but the screen went black. My laptop at home was probably wiped too. Months of documentation destroyed. It's gone. Everything's gone. Amanda grabbed my phone. When did this happen? Just now, while we were talking. He's watching you somehow. Tracking your communications. The smart locks, I said suddenly. They have Wi-Fi. He could be using them to access our network. Do you have any physical copies? No, just what I showed you. What about your neighbors who left? Marcus has temperature logs, but he's in Glendale now. I texted Marcus from Amanda's phone. Emergency? Still have those temperature readings? He replied immediately. Yes, backed up to my work server. Why? Everything else got deleted. Can you send them? Sending now. Be careful. The files came through. Weeks of temperature data showing the pattern. Every spike corresponded with when we were at work or had complained about something. This is enough to start, Amanda said. But we need more. My phone buzzed. New number. Check your email. I borrowed Amanda's laptop. There was a message from Rebecca Chen. Emergency council meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m., housing crisis and tenant safety. Bring everything you have. We're ending this. That's my mom, Amanda said. She's pissed. 3 elderly deaths in suspicious circumstances this summer, all in properties owned by corporate landlords using smart home tech. 3, Jake said too. 3rd one happened yesterday. Elderly man in Tempe, locked in during power outage. Smart lock wouldn't disengage without electricity. We were in the hospital parking lot when Grandma had another cardiac episode. I heard the code blue from outside and ran in. They got her stabilized, but the cardiologist pulled me aside. Her heart is failing. The stress is killing her, literally. How long does she have? If this continues, days, maybe a week. And if the stress stops, she might recover. But every episode does permanent damage. I sat by her bed watching the monitors. Her heart rate kept spiking every time she moved. Every time she woke up, she grabbed my hand and asked if we were safe. We're safe, Grandma. Don't lie to me. Her voice was barely a whisper. I know he's winning. Tomorrow, city council meeting, reporter, we're going to expose him. What if it doesn't work? Then we take his money and run. She squeezed my hand weakly. Promise me you won't let me die in that apartment. I promise. Rebecca Chen texted Amanda while I sat there. Tell her not to go home tonight. If he's wiping devices remotely, he might escalate. Stay at the hospital. But I had to go back. Grandma's medications were there, her insurance cards, everything we'd need if she got discharged. I'll be quick, I told Amanda. I'm coming with you. And we're live streaming everything. If something happens, it goes viral immediately. We got back to the apartment at dawn to grab Grandma's medications for the council meeting. Grandma was finally stable enough to leave the hospital. The doctor warned us one more incident could kill her, but we had nowhere else to go. I helped her into bed while Amanda waited in the living room, her phone ready to record. Just rest, Grandma. We'll leave for the meeting in a few hours. She dozed off, and I went to gather our evidence folders. That's when I heard it. The smart lock clicking. Did you just lock the door? Amanda asked. No, I ran to check. The handle wouldn't turn. It's activated. Then the heat kicked on. Not the AC, the heat. In 112-degree weather, our heater was blasting. What the hell? Amanda started recording on her phone. The temperature climbed fast. 85, 90, 95. The thermostat showed the heat set to maximum. I tried to override it, but the controls were frozen. Grandma woke up gasping. I can't breathe. It's happening again. Call 911, I told Amanda while I tried the windows. Sealed shut for energy efficiency, Ethan had said when we moved in. I called 911 from my phone. My landlord is trying to kill my grandmother again. He's locked us in and turned the heat to maximum. Is this the Desert Vista complex? Yes, please hurry. She has heart failure. While on the phone, I opened Facebook Live on Amanda's phone. My hands were shaking as I started streaming. This is happening right now. My landlord Ethan is trying to kill my grandmother by locking us in and cranking the heat. I turned the camera to show the thermostat reading 97 degrees inside. Then to Grandma, slumped in bed, breathing shallow. He's done this before. She almost died 2 weeks ago. I showed the smart lock panel. Remote access active. He's controlling it from his house. The views started climbing. 50, 100, 300. Comments flooded in immediately. Call the news. This is attempted murder. What's the address? I'm coming to help. Amanda was on her phone with her editor. Get a camera crew to Desert Vista now. Attempted murder in progress. The temperature hit 100 degrees. Grandma's eyes rolled back. Grandma, stay with me. I put wet towels on her forehead, but they dried in minutes. 500 views, 1,000. Someone commented they'd called the fire department. Share this, I said to the camera. His name is Ethan Morrison. He owns 14 properties in Phoenix. He's been doing this to elderly tenants all summer. 2,000 views. The comments were going crazy. I know this landlord. He did this to my aunt. Someone call the mayor. I heard sirens. Multiple sirens. Not just ambulance. Police. Fire trucks. The temperature read 103 inside. Same as when Grandma almost died before. Jake's crew was first through the door, using the Halligan bar like before, but this time, news cameras were right behind them. Core temp, 102.8, Jake called out, working on Grandma. We need to transport now. This is the fourth one from this building, he said loudly, knowing the cameras were rolling. Same landlord. Same method. Amanda's camera crew was filming everything, the thermostat, the smart lock, Grandma being carried out on a stretcher. My live stream had 8,000 viewers. The comments were full of people sharing their own stories about Ethan's properties. This needs to stop, Jake said directly to the news camera. This man is systematically attempting to murder elderly tenants. My live stream hit 10,000 viewers as they loaded Grandma into the ambulance. Amanda Chen's news crew was already set up when Ethan's BMW screeched into the parking lot. He jumped out, saw the cameras, and froze. Turn those off. This is private property, no media allowed. Amanda stepped forward with her microphone. Mr. Morrison, I'm Amanda Chen with Channel 12. Your tenant is live streaming this. It's already public. Get off my property or I'll call the police. They're already here. She pointed to the 2 patrol cars that had just arrived. That's when the other tenants started coming out. I hadn't seen most of them since our group fell apart, but they were all there now. Marcus had driven back with his father in the wheelchair. Jennifer was there. Even Sarah had returned with Lily. You almost killed my dad, Marcus said loudly. His father was slumped in the wheelchair, oxygen tank hissing. Locked him in for 6 hours. That was a malfunction, Ethan said, but the cameras were rolling. Every time is a malfunction? Sarah stepped forward with Lily on her hip. You locked my baby inside alone. More tenants emerged. Mrs. Chen from next door. The young couple from 3B. People I'd never even talked to before. All with the same story. He did it to me too. Locked out for 8 hours in July. My insulin went bad in the heat. Hospital bill was $3,000. My cat died. Couldn't get in to save her. The crowd was growing, not just our building. People from Ethan's other properties were showing up. Someone must have shared the live stream location. Ethan pulled out his phone. Tony, shut it down. All of it. Now. Through the crowd, I could see Tony in his truck with his laptop open, but Marcus's IT friend James was right behind him, phone out. I'm recording every keystroke, James announced, screen recording everything. Tony's fingers flew across the keyboard. I could see him accessing multiple units remotely, changing settings, trying to cover their tracks. He's deleting the logs, James said loudly, but I've got it all recorded. Multiple units being accessed right now. The detective who'd arrived stepped forward. Sir, I'm going to need you to step away from that computer. Tony slammed the laptop shut, but James held up his phone. Too late. I have video of him remotely accessing 12 different units, changing temperature settings, locking and unlocking doors. That's illegal surveillance, Ethan said. Actually, the detective said, if he's accessing tenant units without authorization, that's breaking and entering. Digitally, but still B&E. Amanda's camera operator was getting everything. The crowd, the cops, Ethan's face getting redder. You can't prove anything, Ethan said. Those could be maintenance checks. At the exact times tenants were trapped, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Like right now? Like 10 minutes ago when you tried to kill my grandmother again? My live stream showed 15,000 viewers. Comments were flooding in faster than I could read, people tagging the mayor, the governor, the FBI. An elderly man pushed through the crowd. My wife died in May. You said it was a malfunction. She was trapped for 4 hours in 108-degree heat. The detective's expression changed. Sir, we're going to need you to come to the station. I'm calling my lawyer, Ethan said. Do that. But right now, we need those laptops as evidence. The detective turned to Tony. You too. Tony tried to run, but 2 officers grabbed him. His laptop fell and cracked open on the pavement. Careful with that, the detective said. That's evidence. More news vans were arriving. Channel 3, Channel 15. The story was exploding. Amanda turned to her camera. We're here at Desert Vista, where multiple tenants are alleging their landlord has been using smart home technology to endanger elderly residents, possibly resulting in deaths. The detective's words were still hanging in the air when Derek from Housing Authority pushed through the crowd with his entire inspection team. Emergency inspection authorized by City Council, he announced, holding up papers. Every unit, every violation, today. Ethan stepped forward. You need a warrant for emergency health and safety inspection doesn't need a warrant, Derek said. Not when we have video evidence of attempted murder. The inspection team spread out like an army. They started with the smart locks, taking photos of each one. None of these are permitted, Derek called out. No building permits. No electrical permits. No fire marshal approval. Tony tried to speak up. I installed them. They're perfectly safe. Are you a licensed contractor? Derek asked. Tony's mouth opened and closed. That's what I thought. Every installation is illegal. 2 inspectors went into Ethan's ground floor office apartment. I could see them through the window, taking pictures of everything. Then one of them stopped at something on the wall. Detective, you need to see this. We all pressed closer to the windows. On Ethan's wall was a whiteboard covered in tenant names and notes. Even from outside, I could read some of it. Callista 1C, grandmother vulnerable to heat, heart condition. Marcus 4B, father on oxygen, power dependent. Sarah 2A, single mom, will panic about baby. Jennifer 3C, needs job, pressure through employer. Under each name were dates and methods. 1C, July 15th, August 3rd, vacation mode during peak heat. 4B, July 22nd, power cut, disable backup. 2A, July 28th, lock during mail run. The detective took photo after photo while the crowd outside went silent. It's a hit list, someone whispered. Derek's team found more in the office. A laptop still logged into the smart lock system. The screen showed every apartment in real time. Temperature readings, lock status, power consumption. Motion sensors showing who was home. He can see everything, Derek said. When you're home. When you leave. When you sleep. One inspector opened a filing cabinet. There's more. Tenant files with highlighted sections. He pulled one out. This one's marked fixed term lease ending, do not renew. Another file. Elderly, monthly rental, prime for displacement. The detective was on his radio. I need backup and a forensics team. This is a crime scene. Ethan's lawyer arrived in a Tesla pushing through the crowd. My client isn't saying anything. This search is illegal. The search is for code violations, Derek said. The evidence of crimes is in plain sight. The lawyer looked at the whiteboard through the window and his face went pale. I need to confer with my client, he said quietly. But Ethan wasn't looking at his lawyer. He was staring at the crowd of tenants, the news cameras, the viral live stream still running on multiple phones. 17,000 viewers, someone said, showing their phone. The comments were full of former tenants sharing their stories. Screenshots of text messages from Ethan, videos of their own lockouts. Amanda Chen stepped in front of the camera for her live report. What we're witnessing here is potentially the largest case of systematic tenant abuse in Phoenix history, using smart home technology as a weapon against vulnerable residents. The fire marshal's truck pulled up, 2 more police cars, a van marked Digital Forensics Unit. Derek came back outside with a stack of violation notices, 14 units with illegal smart locks, non-permitted electrical work throughout, fire exits compromised by electronic locks without manual override. This building is condemned until corrections are made. Condemned? Ethan's voice cracked. You can't do that. I just did. All tenants have 72 hours to temporarily relocate. The owner will pay for accommodations. The crowd erupted. Some people cheered, others looked panicked about having to move. Don't worry, Derek said loudly. This is temporary. Once the illegal locks are removed and proper locks installed, you can return, at your current rental rates. That's the law. 2 hours later, we were at City Hall for the emergency council meeting. The chambers were packed, standing room only, every seat filled with tenants from Ethan's properties. More watching from the overflow room. News cameras lined the walls. Rebecca Chen gavelled the meeting to order. We've called this emergency session to address systematic tenant endangerment using smart home technology. She called Jake first. He walked to the podium carrying a thick folder. I'm a paramedic with Phoenix Fire. He opened the folder and pulled out a map of the city with red pins. These are heat-related emergency calls from properties owned by Ethan Morrison, 17 and 3 months. He pointed to clusters of pins. Same pattern every time. Smart lock malfunction. A C mysteriously fails. Elderly or disabled tenant trapped inside during peak heat. Could these be coincidences? A council member asked. No. Jake pulled out his reports. The timing is too consistent. Always during the hottest part of the day. Always after the tenant complained about something or refused a buyout offer. Derek was next. He brought photos from the inspection. Worst case of systematic tenant endangerment I've seen in 20 years. He showed the photo of Ethan's whiteboard. He literally had a hit list on his wall, names, vulnerabilities, and attack methods. The crowd gasped when he read the entries out loud. Marcus 4B, father on oxygen, power dependent, method, cut power during heat wave. Sarah 2A, single mom, will panic about baby. Method, lock during quick errands. This wasn't negligence, Derek said. This was weaponized housing. Amanda Chen took the podium next. She had a laptop connected to the projector. We've compiled footage from multiple tenants. She hit play, the screen filled with videos, elderly people crying in overheated apartments, Sarah screaming while her baby was locked inside, Marcus's father unconscious on the floor, my grandmother being carried out on a stretcher, someone in the crowd started crying, others were shouting, Ethan's lawyer stood up. This is inflammatory and prejudicial. My client is a successful businessman being targeted by disgruntled tenants who, sit down, Rebecca Chen said. We haven't gotten to the evidence yet. James, Marcus's IT friend, was called up. He connected his phone to the projector. This is screen recorded from today. Tony accessing multiple units remotely while tenants were inside. The video showed Tony's laptop screen, windows for each apartment, temperature controls, lock settings, him typing commands to change them. Here's where it gets interesting. James zoomed in. These timestamps match exactly when Ms. Martinez was trapped this morning. Then he showed the text messages. Screenshots from Tony's phone seized by police. Ethan to Tony. Triggered vacation mode on 4B. Should be out by weekend. Tony to Ethan. 2A being stubborn. Hit them with the baby angle. Ethan. Grandmother in 1C almost done. One more push. Tony. Want me to do it during work hours? She can't leave then. Ethan. Perfect. 115 degrees forecasted Thursday. The chamber erupted. People screaming, crying. Someone yelled, murderer. Rebecca gabbled for order. There's more. The screen showed more text from May and June. The 2 elderly tenants who died. Ethan. How long was 7B locked in? Tony. 4 hours. She stopped moving after 3. Ethan. Good. Natural causes with heat complications. Clean. The room went silent. Rebecca Chen looked directly at the detective sitting in the front row. I think we've heard enough. This isn't just tenant abuse or housing violations. This is attempted murder, multiple counts. The detective stood up. We have warrants for both Ethan Morrison and Tony Morrison. Ethan tried to leave, but officers blocked the exits. Ethan Morrison, you're under arrest for attempted murder, elder abuse, criminal conspiracy, and violation of tenant rights. As they cuffed him, he looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Yes, I said. It is. Rebecca Chen gabbled again. This council moves for emergency ordinance banning smart locks in rental properties, effective immediately. The vote was unanimous. The judge set Ethan's bail at $2 million while news cameras captured every second. 14 counts of endangerment, multiple counts of attempted murder, criminal conspiracy. The detective read the charges while Ethan stood in handcuffs. His perfectly pressed shirt was soaked with sweat. This is ridiculous, Ethan said to his lawyer. It's my property. I can maintain it however I want. Not when you're using it to try to kill people, the detective said. They arrested Tony next. He tried to run but didn't get far. 2 officers tackled him in the parking lot while his laptop went flying. The screen cracked when it hit the pavement. Fraud. Operating without a license. Conspiracy to commit murder. They cuffed him while listing charges. You're looking at 20 years minimum. Every news station in Phoenix was broadcasting live. Channel 12, Channel 3, Channel 15. The story was everywhere. My Facebook Live had hit 50,000 views. Comments were pouring in from tenants at Ethan's other buildings. At the hospital, I sat with Grandma watching the coverage on the room's TV. Her heart monitor beeped steadily, better than it had in weeks. It's over, I told her, squeezing her hand. We're safe now. Are we really? Her voice was weak but hopeful. He's going to prison. They all saw the evidence. More victims started coming forward immediately. The elderly man whose wife died in May called the police, a diabetic woman from Ethan's Tempe property who'd been trapped for 5 hours, a disabled veteran from his Scottsdale building who'd nearly died when his wheelchair got stuck during a malfunction. The stories went back 3 years, dozens of them, all the same pattern. The county prosecutor arrived at the police station in a black SUV. Patricia Hernandez was known for taking down corruption cases. This is going to be a RICO case, she announced to the media. Mr. Morrison used systematic criminal tactics across multiple properties to endanger and displace vulnerable tenants. RICO? A reporter asked. Like organized crime? Exactly like organized crime. He ran a criminal enterprise disguised as property management. Within hours, inspectors descended on all 14 of Ethan's properties. Emergency inspections with full teams. By sunset, 7 buildings were condemned for the same violations. Illegal smart locks, unpermitted electrical work, compromised fire exits. Hundreds of tenants discovered they'd been victims without knowing it. Their technical glitches weren't glitches at all. A woman from his Mesa property called me crying. My mother had 3 heat episodes last summer. We thought it was her dementia making her confused about the thermostat. A man from Glendale texted our group. He locked me out 6 times until I gave up and moved. Cost me everything. Marcus's IT friend kept finding more evidence on the laptop data, logs showing Ethan had been testing different temperature and lock combinations, seeing which ones caused the most distress without triggering immediate medical emergencies. He was experimenting, James told the detective, finding the perfect torture method. Former tenants created a Facebook group, Ethan Morrison Survivors. Within 6 hours, it had 400 members, everyone sharing their stories, their evidence, their trauma. Sarah posted about her baby's near-death experience. Marcus shared his father's medical records. Jennifer uploaded every threatening text she'd received. The evidence was overwhelming. That night, Tony flipped. His lawyer announced he'd testify against Ethan in exchange for a reduced sentence. My client was manipulated and coerced, the lawyer said. He'll cooperate fully with prosecutors. Ethan's lawyer tried damage control. These are isolated incidents being blown out of proportion. My client is a successful businessman being scapegoated for equipment failures. But the whiteboard from his office was all over the news. That hit list with our names and vulnerabilities. No jury would ignore that. The prosecutor's office called me. We need you to testify. You're the key witness. What about my grandmother? She can't handle a trial. We'll accommodate her condition. Video testimony if needed. 3 months of legal procedures felt like 3 years. I sat in the witness chair at the preliminary hearing, holding a folder of medical bills. My hands were shaking as I opened it. $12,000 for my grandmother's emergency heat stroke treatment. I showed the receipts to the court. $3,000 for the follow-up cardiac care. $800 for medications. $4,000 in lost wages because I had to care for her. And her current condition? The prosecutor asked. She needs oxygen at night now. Her heart never fully recovered. The cardiologist says the repeated heat stress caused permanent damage. Ethan sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. No more designer suits. His bail had been revoked after he tried to contact witnesses. The judge ordered all his assets frozen. $47 million in property across Phoenix, all built on forcing out rent-controlled tenants and elderly residents. Marissa from Legal Aid was building the class action lawsuit. She'd set up a conference room at the community center where victims could join. We have over 200 plaintiffs, she announced at our first meeting. Combined damages exceed $8 million. Some stories were worse than mine. A woman whose diabetic husband died after being locked out for 6 hours. A mother whose premature baby spent weeks in NICU after heat exposure. A veteran who lost his leg to infection after falling during a lockout. During discovery, Ethan's emails started surfacing. His investment group communications were damning. Cleared another building in Tempe. 12 units flipped from $1,800 to $3,500. ROI up 300%. Smart lock system is a game changer for tenant turnover. Complete control without leaving fingerprints. Elderly tenants are easiest. 1 or 2 heat incidents and they run. Screenshots from landlord forums were even worse. Ethan had been teaching other property owners his methods. Never directly evict. Let technology do it. Smart thermostats plus smart locks equals voluntary departure. Always blame technical glitches. Impossible to prove intent. One post made me physically sick. Had a stubborn grandmother in 1C. 3 applications of the Phoenix Special. That's what I call the heat treatment, and she's finally moving. Sometimes the old ones need extra encouragement. The Phoenix Special. He'd named his torture method. Tony's testimony revealed more. He sat in court looking terrified, trying to save himself. Ethan called it optimization. He had spreadsheets tracking each tenant's breaking point. How many lockouts before they'd leave? What temperature made them panic fastest? Did you know people could die, so? The prosecutor asked. He said they'd leave before it got that bad. Said old people were dramatic about heat. What about the 2 who died? Tony went pale. He called those acceptable losses. Said they were probably going to die anyway. The courtroom gasped. Even Ethan's lawyer looked disgusted. More evidence kept surfacing. Ethan had installed hidden cameras in common areas to monitor tenant schedules. He knew exactly when to strike for maximum impact. Bank records showed he'd made $16 million in profit over 3 years from forced tenant turnover. Blood money from our suffering. The FBI got involved when they discovered he'd crossed state lines. He owned properties in Nevada and California using the same methods. This is interstate racketeering, the federal prosecutor announced. We're adding federal charges. A reporter interviewed me outside the courthouse. How does it feel knowing he might get life in prison? My grandmother might not live to see him sentenced. Her heart is failing, that's how it feels. The story went national. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all covering the smart lock slumlord. Reddit threads with thousands of comments. Twitter hashtags trending. Other cities started investigating similar cases. San Diego found 3 landlords using smart locks illegally. Austin found 5. It was an epidemic. He wasn't just a criminal, Marissa told the media. He was patient zero in a nationwide housing crime wave. The prosecutor called with an update. Tony took a plea deal, 10 years, possibility of parole in 5. He's testifying against Ethan next week. What's Ethan looking at? With the federal charges? 25 to life. 2 people died. Your grandmother almost died 3 times. That's multiple attempted murders. 3 months of legal procedures felt like 3 years. I sat in the witness chair at the preliminary hearing, holding a folder of medical bills. My hands shook as I opened it. $12,000 for my grandmother's emergency heat stroke treatment. I showed the receipts to the court. $3,000 for the follow-up cardiac care. $800 for medications. $4,000 in lost wages because I had to care for her. And her current condition? The prosecutor asked. She needs oxygen at night now. Her heart never fully recovered. The cardiologist says the repeated heat stress caused permanent damage. Ethan sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. No more designer suits. His bail had been revoked after he tried to contact witnesses. The judge ordered all his assets frozen. $47 million in property across Phoenix, all built on forcing out rent-controlled tenants. Marissa from Legal Aid was building the class action lawsuit. She'd set up a conference room at the community center where victims could join. We have over 200 plaintiffs, she announced at our first meeting. Combined damages exceed $8 million. Some stories were worse than mine. A woman whose diabetic husband died after being locked out for 6 hours. A mother whose premature baby spent weeks in NICU after heat exposure. A veteran who lost his leg to infection after falling during a lockout. During discovery, Ethan's emails started surfacing. His investment group communications were damning. Cleared another building in Tempe. 12 units flipped from 1,800 to 3,500. ROI up 300%. Smart lock system is a game changer for tenant turnover. Complete control without leaving fingerprints. Elderly tenants are easiest. 1 or 2 heat incidents and they run. Screenshots from landlord forums were even worse. Ethan had been teaching other property owners his methods. Never directly evict. Let technology do it. Smart thermostats plus smart locks equals voluntary departure. Always blame technical glitches. Impossible to prove intent. One post made me physically sick. Had a stubborn grandmother in 1C. 3 applications of the Phoenix Special and she's finally moving. Sometimes the old ones need extra encouragement. The Phoenix Special. He'd named his torture method. Tony's testimony revealed more. He sat in court looking terrified. Ethan called it optimization. His voice cracked. He had spreadsheets tracking each tenant's breaking point. How many lockouts before they'd leave? What temperature made them panic fastest? Did you know people could die? The prosecutor asked. He said they'd leave before it got that bad. Said old people were dramatic about heat. What about the 2 who died? Tony went pale. He called those acceptable losses. Said they were probably going to die anyway. The courtroom gasped. Even Ethan's lawyer looked disgusted. More evidence kept surfacing. Ethan had installed hidden cameras in common areas to monitor tenant schedules. He knew exactly when to strike. Bank records showed he'd made $16 million in profit over 3 years from forced tenant turnover. Blood money. The FBI got involved when they discovered he'd crossed state lines. Properties in Nevada and California using the same methods. This is interstate racketeering, the federal prosecutor announced. We're adding federal charges. A reporter interviewed me outside the courthouse. How does it feel knowing he might get life in prison? My grandmother might not live to see him sentenced. Her heart is failing. That's how it feels. The story went national. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all covering the smart lock slumlord. Reddit threads with thousands of comments. Twitter hashtags trending. Other cities started investigating similar cases. San Diego found 3 landlords using smart locks illegally. Austin found 5. It was an epidemic. He wasn't just a criminal, Marissa told the media. He was patient zero in a nationwide housing crime wave. 6 months later, the criminal trial finally started. The courtroom was packed. Every seat filled with victims, media in the back row. I sat in the front with Grandma in her wheelchair, oxygen tank beside her. The jury took 4 days to deliberate. When they came back, the foreman stood up. On count 1, attempted murder, we find the defendant, Ethan Morrison, guilty. Guilty, 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 14 times. Ethan's face went white with each verdict. His lawyer requested immediate sentencing. The judge looked at Ethan with disgust. Mr. Morrison, you turned homes into torture chambers. You weaponized technology against the vulnerable. 8 years in state prison, eligible for parole in 8 years. People gasped, some cried. It wasn't enough for what he'd done, but it was something. Tony's sentencing was next. He stood there shaking. 2 years. No possibility of contractor licensing ever again. You're a disgrace to your trade. The civil settlement came through the same week. The judge had approved the victims' fund from Ethan's frozen assets, $8.5 million to be distributed among 212 victims. Callista Martinez, the clerk read, $85,000 for medical expenses, pain and suffering, and punitive damages. I signed the papers with shaking hands. It wouldn't give Grandma her health back, but it would help. Others got their settlements too. Marcus's father received $90,000. His stroke during the ordeal left him partially paralyzed. Sarah got $60,000. She was still in therapy for PTSD, jumping every time a door closed. Jennifer got $40,000 for lost wages and emotional distress. Some got more. The widow whose husband died got $300,000. The mother whose baby went to NICU got $200,000. The money couldn't bring back what was lost, but it acknowledged the harm. That afternoon, the city council held an emergency session. Rebecca Chen presided. This council hereby bans all smart locks in rental properties, effective immediately. Any landlord using electronic locks must provide manual override keys to all tenants. The vote was unanimous. Furthermore, Rebecca continued, mandatory cooling periods during summer months. Any loss of a C over 90 degrees requires immediate temporary housing at landlord's expense. Another unanimous vote. And finally, criminal penalties for utility manipulation. Any landlord who intentionally disrupts utilities faces felony charges. The gallery erupted in applause. At the press conference afterward, Rebecca stood at the podium with tears in her eyes. No one should fear death in their own home. No one should have their shelter weaponized against them. What happened here was terrorism disguised as property management. A reporter asked about enforcement. We're creating a rapid response team. Tenants call a hotline, inspectors respond within 2 hours, criminal charges filed same day if warranted. Another reporter asked about other cities. We're sharing our ordinance nationwide. San Diego is voting next week, Austin next month. This ends here and now. I spoke to the media briefly. Ethan Morrison tried to kill my grandmother for profit. He's in prison. She's alive. That's all that matters. But it wasn't all that mattered. Grandma would never fully recover. Marcus's dad would never walk right again. Those 2 elderly tenants were still dead. The trauma was permanent. Still, things were changing. Other cities were taking notice. Other tenants were fighting back. The smart lock companies were adding safety features. Ethan Morrison thought he'd found the perfect crime. Technology-enabled torture with plausible deniability. He was wrong. 1 year later, we signed the papers for our new home. It was a small condo, 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy, but it had traditional locks. Grandma laughed when I showed her the metal keys. I'll take a regular key any day, she said, holding it up like a trophy. We used the settlement money for the down payment. $60,000 after legal fees. The rest went to medical bills and a savings account for Grandma's ongoing care. Her health was stable but fragile. She needed oxygen every night now. The machine hummed beside her bed like a mechanical lullaby. Her heart medication doubled. 3 pills in the morning, 4 at night. But she was alive. That's what mattered. "You should put a smart lock on this place," Mrs. Chen joked when she visited. "I hear they're very convenient." Grandma threw a pillow at her. I was working part-time now, 20 hours a week at a smaller medical billing company. They understood when I needed to leave for Grandma's appointments. The other 20 hours went to advocacy work. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I volunteered at the tenant emergency hotline Rebecca Chen had established. The phone never stopped ringing. My landlord cut my water. The AC stopped working during a heat warning. I'm locked out and my kids are inside. I walked them through documentation. Take photos, record everything, save texts, get witnesses, call 911 immediately if it's an emergency. Don't wait, I told every caller, don't assume it's an accident. I created a template for evidence gathering that legal aid distributed statewide, a simple checklist. Date, time, temperature, witnesses, photos, medical symptoms, everything needed to build a case. Wednesday nights, I spoke at community centers, mostly to elderly residents in low-income housing. I showed them how to use their phones to record, how to recognize illegal tactics, how to fight back. Document everything, I said at every meeting. Every text, every temperature reading, every interaction. An elderly man raised his hand at one session. What if we don't have smartphones? Paper works too. Write it down. Get a thermometer. Have neighbors witness. The format doesn't matter. The evidence does. Jake, the EMT, stayed in touch. We did training together for first responders, teaching them to recognize housing crimes disguised as accidents. If you see multiple heat emergencies from one building, that's not coincidence. Jake told a room full of paramedics. That's a pattern. Report it. We showed them the warning signs, smart locks without manual overrides, elderly or disabled tenants, recent complaints or rent disputes, multiple technical glitches. Ask the right questions, I added. How long were you trapped? Has this happened before? Did you complain about anything recently? One young EMT raised his hand. What if the landlord says it's just old equipment? Old equipment fails randomly, Jake said. Criminal equipment fails strategically. The Phoenix program became a model. Other cities sent representatives to study our response system. The rapid intervention team had prevented 42 emergencies in 6 months. Sarah moved back from Tucson. She found an apartment with traditional locks and joined our advocacy group. Her daughter Lily was thriving in preschool, though Sarah still checked door handles obsessively. Marcus's dad lived in assisted care now. The settlement covered most of it. Marcus visited daily, working remotely from his dad's room. They were closer than ever, bonded by survival. Jennifer got a job with the city's new tenant protection office. She used her experience to identify patterns in complaints. 3 criminal landlords arrested because of her analysis. We met monthly, the survivors group. Not to relive trauma, but to prevent others suffering. We reviewed new cases, shared resources, celebrated victories. Another smart lock landlord arrested in Tempe, Sarah announced at our last meeting. California passed our ordinance statewide, Marcus added. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. But not everything was perfect a year later. I still had PTSD from what happened. Every night, I'd wake up at 2 a.m. and check on Grandma, stand by her bed, watch her chest rise and fall, count to 10. Only then could I go back to sleep. When our apartment got above 75 degrees, my body went into panic mode, heart racing, hands shaking, had to open all the windows even in winter. My therapist said it was normal. My body remembered the trauma even when my mind tried to forget. Grandma was afraid to be alone now. If I went to the store, she'd call every 5 minutes. Just checking you can get back in, she'd say. We have regular keys, Grandma. What if they break? What if the lock jams? Then I'll call a locksmith. What if they don't answer? What if it's hot that day? Grandma, we own this place. No one can lock us out. But logic didn't erase fear. She kept a hammer by her bed, said it was for emergencies. We both knew what emergency she meant. The other victims were struggling too. Sarah ended up moving back with her parents in Tucson permanently. Couldn't bring herself to trust another landlord. What if it happens again? She asked at our last meeting. What if the next one is smarter? Marcus's dad never left assisted living. The stress broke something in him that couldn't be fixed. Marcus spent every evening there, watching his dad stare at nothing. The man who used to build furniture now couldn't hold a spoon steady. Jennifer developed an anxiety disorder. Couldn't sleep without checking her door 3 times. Kept water bottles in every room. Thermometers everywhere. Her therapist prescribed medication, but she was afraid to take it. Afraid of being vulnerable. But there were positive changes too. Our old building had new owners. The court had seized it and sold it to a nonprofit housing organization. They removed every smart lock the first day. Installed traditional deadbolts, real keys, manual thermostats. The tenant union we tried to form actually happened. 20 families working together. They met monthly with the new management, discussed repairs, negotiated rent increases, had a voice. Mrs. Chen was the union president. She kept a photo of my grandmother's ambulance on her desk. So we never forget, she said. The victims stayed connected. We had a Facebook group with 300 members now. Not just from Phoenix, from everywhere. Sharing stories, warning signs, resources. Someone in Denver posted about their landlord installing new convenience features. Within hours, 50 people had commented, explaining the dangers, sharing our story, linking to news articles. The landlord removed them the next day. We met monthly at the community center. Not just to share trauma, but to prevent others. Every meeting, someone new would come. Scared, confused, desperate. My landlord just installed smart locks. The temperature keeps changing when I'm gone. I got locked out 3 times this week. We'd surround them, share our evidence templates, connect them with lawyers, give them our hotline number, show them they weren't alone and weren't crazy. Local news did a follow-up story for the anniversary. They interviewed Grandma in our new living room. She held up her metal keys to the camera like weapons. These can't be hacked, she said. Can't be controlled remotely, can't try to kill me. The reporter asked if she felt safe now. I feel safer. Not safe. Never completely safe again, but safer. The story ended with statistics. 47 cities had passed ordinances banning smart locks in rentals. The FBI had arrested 12 landlords in 6 states, $300 million in settlements nationwide. But the last line was about those who didn't survive, the 2 elderly tenants who died from Ethan's properties, 8 others nationwide whose deaths were being reinvestigated. That night, Grandma couldn't sleep. I found her sitting by the window at 3 a.m. Thinking about them? I asked. Every day, we survived. They didn't. We're fighting for them now. It's not enough. No, I agreed. It's not. The next week, I spoke at the monthly Landlord Association meeting at City Hall. I stood at the podium looking at 200 property owners. Some avoided eye contact. Others stared with hostility. A few seemed genuinely interested. Technology isn't evil. Greed is. I clicked to the first slide. A photo of Grandma on the stretcher, oxygen mask on her face, EMTs working frantically. My grandmother almost died for someone's profit margin. Ethan Morrison wanted to raise our rent from $2,800 to $3,500. She was in the way. The room shifted uncomfortably. Every tenant is someone's family, someone's grandmother, someone's child, someone's parent. I clicked through more photos. Marcus's dad on the ventilator, Sarah's baby in the emergency room, the elderly man whose wife died. This is what your investment strategies look like in real life. This is what encouraging turnover really means. A landlord in the front row stood up and walked out, then another, and another, but others were taking notes. One woman was crying. I showed the final slide. Ethan's whiteboard with our names and vulnerabilities listed like a shopping list. He called it the Phoenix Special, his method for forcing out tenants using heat. He taught it to others online, maybe some of you. More people left, but about 50 stayed. After the presentation, a young woman approached me. She looked scared. My landlord just installed smart locks last week. Yesterday, they mysteriously failed when I was at work. My cat was inside for 8 hours without water. I handed her the hotline card. Call us. Now. Tonight. What if I'm overreacting? You're not. Don't wait until someone gets hurt. I helped Grandma to the car. Her oxygen tank wheeled behind us. You know we can't save everyone, she said. No, Grandma. But we can try. We drove past our old building on the way home. New families visible through windows, kids playing in the courtyard, traditional locks gleaming on every door. The new management had planted trees for shade, installed window A, C units for backup, posted the tenant hotline number in the lobby. It looked like a home now, not a prison. Ethan's in prison, I said. Tony's bankrupt. We survived. But Grandma knew me too well. But I still check our locks 3 times before bed. Still wake up at 2 a.m. to check your breathing. Still panic when it gets above 75 degrees. Some trauma doesn't leave, she said. It just gets manageable. We pulled into our condo complex, our home, our safe place with traditional locks and windows that open and thermostats we control. But even now, even safe, I checked the lock 3 times. Some habits die hard, some don't die at all.